AI is quietly replacing your personality? Strange question. When was the last time you wrote something that nobody helped you write? Not Grammarly, not autocomplete, not an AI assistant, not a suggested reply, just you, your thoughts, your words, your voice. Take a second. It's harder to answer than it should be, because something unusual has happened over the last few years. Most people haven't noticed it. Yet once you see it, it becomes impossible to ignore. The internet doesn't sound human anymore. And the weirdest part? Neither do we. Imagine meeting yourself from 10 years ago. Not physically, digitally, old messages, old emails, old posts, old journal entries. You'd probably notice mistakes, awkward sentences, terrible jokes, opinions you'd never admit to today. But you'd also notice something else, a fingerprint, a voice, something uniquely yours. Now scroll through social media today, different faces, different backgrounds, different lives. Yet somehow, the same phrases keep appearing, the same tone, the same polished confidence, the same carefully optimized personality. It's as if millions of people are reading from the same invisible script, and maybe they are. Because the biggest change AI brought to the world wasn't teaching machines how to sound human. It may have been teaching humans how to sound like machines. Oh, that sounds dramatic, maybe even paranoid. After all, AI helps us write emails, organize thoughts, generate ideas, save time. What's wrong with that? Nothing, at least not on the surface. This isn't a story about evil technology. It's a story about friction. Because hidden inside every original thought, there's a struggle, a hesitation, a moment of uncertainty. And that struggle may be far more important than most people realize. The question isn't whether AI can think. The question is what happens when humans stop practicing. And to understand that, we need to start with something many people feel but can't quite explain. Something feels different online, have you noticed it? A strange sameness, a feeling that's difficult to describe. You watch one video, then another, different creators, different topics, yet somehow they all feel strangely familiar, not identical, just smoothed out, predictable, safe. The edges are gone, the roughness is gone, the personality is fading, and it's not just content creators. Look at captions, comments, LinkedIn posts, emails, even text messages. Everyone seems more polished than ever, yet less memorable, more articulate, yet somehow less human. At first, this doesn't seem important, until you realize that human beings were never supposed to sound this similar. Individuality is naturally messy. Real people contradict themselves. They ramble, they pause, they struggle for words. But increasingly, we don't. And that's where things get interesting. Because this feeling didn't appear out of nowhere. Something created it. Why it feels different for decades, the internet collected humanity. Not our photos, not our videos, us, our conversations, our jokes, our arguments, our heartbreaks, our fears. Every awkward text sent at 2 a.m. Every apology rewritten 3 times. Every emotional message we almost deleted. The internet became the largest archive of human expression ever assembled. Then something extraordinary happened. Machines learned from it, not just grammar, not just vocabulary, patterns, human patterns, how confidence sounds, how empathy sounds, how humor sounds, how intelligence sounds. Suddenly, machines could imitate the average shape of human communication. And people loved it, because it was useful, fast, convenient, effortless. But here's the hidden catch. The more often a machine generates language for you, the less often you generate it yourself. And that changes something fundamental. Not in the machine, in you. The hidden psychological mechanism. Think about the last time you opened AI to help with a single task. Maybe it was an email, a caption, a difficult message. You weren't trying to outsource your thinking. You just wanted help. Then something subtle happened. The machine offered a version slightly better than yours, slightly clearer, slightly smoother, slightly more persuasive. So you chose it. Of course you did. Most people would. Then you repeated the process, again and again and again, until eventually a strange shift occurs. You stop asking, "What do I want to say?" and start asking, "What sounds best?" That difference matters, more than it seems. Because thinking isn't merely producing an answer. Thinking is the struggle before the answer, the uncertainty, the experimentation, the dead ends, the confusion. That's where original thought lives. Remove the struggle, and you don't just remove effort. You remove discovery. Without realizing it, many people have started replacing self-expression with optimization. And optimization always moves toward the average. Always. Which leads to a question few people are asking. What happens when billions of people optimize themselves using the same machine? #Act4. For years, people feared one thing. They feared machines becoming human. Movies warned us. Books warned us. Experts debated it endlessly. When will AI become conscious? When will it think like us? When will it pass the Turing test? But maybe we were watching the wrong side of the equation. Because the real transformation wasn't happening inside machines. It was happening inside people. AI didn't become human. Humans became algorithmic. Think about it. You check what performs best. You adjust your words. You rewrite your thoughts for engagement. You optimize your personality for approval. Not because someone forced you. Because the system rewards it. And over time, an uncomfortable truth emerges. The machine isn't learning from you anymore. You're learning from the machine. Learning how to speak. Learning how to present yourself. Learning how to think in formats an algorithm prefers. And once that starts happening, who is influencing whom? The personal consequence. This is where the story becomes personal. Because losing your voice doesn't happen dramatically. It happens quietly. You become less willing to sound imperfect, less willing to risk being misunderstood, less willing to experiment. You stop writing difficult thoughts. You stop wrestling with uncertainty. You stop trusting your own words. Not because you can't think, because you've become accustomed to assistance. And assistance slowly becomes dependence. The scariest part? Most people won't notice. From the outside, they appear more capable than ever, more productive, more efficient, more polished. Yet inside, something essential is weakening. The ability to sit alone with a blank page and create something that belongs entirely to them. Have you ever noticed how uncomfortable silence feels now? How quickly we reach for stimulation, for answers, for suggestions, for assistance. Maybe that's not accidental. Maybe we've become so accustomed to receiving thoughts that generating them feels exhausting. And if that trend continues, what happens next? At the beginning of this video, I asked a simple question. When was the last time you wrote something completely by yourself? Now there's a harder question. When was the last time you sat with an idea long enough to discover what you actually believed about it? Not what your feed believes, not what an algorithm suggests, not what sounds intelligent, what you believe. Because the real danger of AI isn't that it will become smarter than humans. The real danger is far quieter, far less dramatic. One day, you may no longer be able to tell where your thoughts end and the machine's suggestions begin. And unlike every dystopian story we've ever imagined, there won't be alarms. No invasion, no rebellion, no dramatic moment when humanity loses control. Just billions of people gradually outsourcing the very process that makes them individuals, the ability to struggle with an idea until it becomes their own. And that's the twist nobody expected. The future may not belong to the people with the most powerful AI. It may belong to the people who can still think without it. Because the machine was never competing for your job, your attention, or even your time. It was competing for something much more valuable, your voice. And if you give away enough of it, eventually you'll face a question no machine can answer for you. When the world stops speaking and you're left alone with your own mind, will there still be someone there? Or will you simply hear an echo of everything that taught you what to think?